asked to give a segment, and they said, you need to pick one statement, God is. So many things to pick from. But for me, as I was kind of thinking it through and trying to sum it up, you can't sum it up, so I can just only pick one that was really meaningful for me, and that is, God is faithful. Say faithful. Faithful. Not bad. Every time I say God is, you say? Faithful. God is. Faithful. God is. Faithful. God is faithful because, I missed you. Where were you? God is faithful. Because in Genesis 15, God made a covenant with Abraham. And the covenant basically said, I will be your God and I will take care of all your needs. And you will be my people and you will obey all my commands. And if any of your people mess up, you must die. And so Abraham goes, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can sign up or really walk through the blood, which was in that image that was there in Genesis 15. So God made a promise. He said, okay, I'll tell you what. Instead, this is how it's going to work. I'll be your God, you be my people. I'll take care of all your needs, and you will obey my commands. And if you or any of your descendants should disobey me, I will come and die for you. And that's what he did. See, God is. Because he loves us so much, he's not going to just leave us where we are. He's going to come after every single one of us. And I really appreciated this story that Paul gave about the kid with the bag over his head. And something struck me as he was finishing his comment, and that was that this kid was trying to hide. And then I realized that there is no one who is invisible to God. No one is invisible to God. And in my life, that was certainly true, although I didn't know it. He'd always been there, but I never knew that he was there. See, for me, God is because he saw me in my brokenness. As a young kid at 8.5 years old, I had an unfortunate experience, an abuse situation in my life. And I did what we've been trained to do, put on the mask, build the walls, and pretend as if it never occurred. But God saw me. I wasn't invisible to God. He saw where I was. He saw how broken I was and how I was running and hiding. But he was not satisfied with leaving me there in my own self-built dungeon behind my walls. And he came after me. And he encouraged me. See, for me, God is because he sees exactly where I was in the midst of my brokenness, and he knew that it was not satisfactory. He knew that I was created for more, that you and I were created for more. So in the appointed time, when so many things had transpired, Jesus came to me in prayer, and he held me by the hand, and he took me back to that place in the basement where it occurred. And every step of the way, Jesus said, you know, I love you, and I just need you to trust me. Trust me. And we took one step further, until finally we're sitting on the bed, and he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Ralph, there's something here you need to know. This was not your fault. And the moment he said those words of truth, all the shame and the guilt and the brokenness just fell away. See, I know him in a way now that I never knew him before. When I was growing up, when I was your age, before I was a senior in high school, I was a cradle Catholic, and I went through the motions of my religion. I got my sacraments, but they didn't mean anything to me because I didn't know Jesus. I didn't even know you could know Jesus intimately. But that time, my senior year in high school, when I encountered the risen Christ for the first time in my life, I knew from that moment on that I was never going to be, and I never have been, abandoned or alone. Never. See, for me, God is... Whoa, you guys are slacking off. See, for me, God is... Because in the midst of my youth, I fell upon pornography. And by the time I was 12, I had a full-blown addiction to porn. But God wasn't satisfied with that brokenness in my life. He knew that I was created for more. I was not created and trained to be a predator, but a protector. And he came for me. And he walked the journey with me. And slowly but surely, as I walked in a relationship with Jesus Christ, as I developed that relationship and my discipleship with him, of following him, he began to lead me by the hand and began to show me a different image of who I was created to be. Not what the world portrays us to be, men, but as someone who's supposed to look at these beautiful ladies and say, you're worth protecting. And so Jesus, in that process, he said, yeah, I know what you've done. I know what you've been looking at, but I still love you. And yes, you've sinned. And yes, I know that you've abused so many people, if nothing else, visually. But I still love you, and I still believe in you. See, I know my God is faithful, because he looks at every single one of us, and he sees in us this amazing potential. And he knows, because he's the Alpha and the Omega, he knows. He sees you in the end. He sees you in heaven. He sees you perfected. He doesn't see you the way we maybe see ourselves today. See, I know God is faithful, because as I got married to my high school sweetheart, Susan, we've been dating for 30 years, but in those 30 years of a journey, I've come so close to the edge, one time so close to the edge of divorce, that all it would have taken is a feather to push my marriage off the cliff. And as I was in the midst of this brokenness in my life, and just wondering, how is this going to work? How is my marriage going to survive? How is this life going to even continue? Because we've got all these girls. I have 5 daughters. I know, it kind of sucks the wind out of you for a second, doesn't it? But I know God is faithful. Look, if I'm trying, you better try. I know God is faithful. Because in the moment where I needed God most, I was in my living room on the floor crying, balled up in a fetal position, and God came to me and he said, Ralph, if you will entrust your wife to me, I will bring her back to you. And I got to tell you, I love Susan more today than I ever have before. And I'm so thankful to say that it's true for her too. God is faithful. And God is so faithful. I know this in my life because he's taken care of my family. You see, when I graduated from college, I started making millions of dollars working as a youth minister for the Catholic Church. And as I was making all this money, what are you guys laughing at? Why are the youth ministers laughing? I don't understand. When I was making all this money for the church, my family started to get big. In fact, after my 3rd daughter, I began to realize, people are saying, well, you're going to go for number 4, go for the boy. And we said, we are not going to have any more kids unless God has a good sense of humor. Then we conceived again, and they were twins. Twin girls. Yeah. God is, because he was prepared to take care of my family. You see, here's the deal. The bigger my family got, my lack of faith grew, and the smaller God got. But every step of the way, God protected and provided for my family because God is the provider. Whoa. Deacon Ralph, you better stick with one word, okay? Because God is faithful. Thank you. So, here's the deal. For the first time in our lives, we got to buy a house when I was a youth minister. I never thought I was going to own a house. Never, never, ever. So we bought our first house. It was awesome. 6 months later, Hurricane Andrew comes through South Florida, wipes my house out. We didn't have electricity for 3 months. I know, right? It was awesome. God is so faithful. We rebuilt our house, got a new electrical system. We got a whole brand new house for free. God is faithful. We got cars that were given to us. In fact, when we moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, we were at a point where we had outgrown our house, and we needed to do something. And so next thing I know, someone challenged us to look for a different house. And I said, we can't afford it. And it says, really, do you think God is that small? Do you think that's all you got? Is that it? I said, okay, fine. He says, well, why don't you do this? Put your house on the market only for a month. And if God sells your house in a month, then you're supposed to move. Okay. So I find a realtor, and we list the house. And then next thing you know, he goes home that night, puts it on the computer, and as the realtor is putting the sign up in the front yard, I have 3 contracts out on my house for full price. God is faithful. And then when I went to move into the next house, had to buy a bigger house, someone gave us $25,000 to get that house. See, I know that my God is faithful. And I want you to remember one last thing. In fact, if you don't remember anything else, remember this about this segment. You got this amazing cross up there. Every time I doubt that God can do anything, I remember that he would have never gone through his passion and death on the cross just to abandon us right where we are in the brokenness of our lives. He loves us. He loves you and he loves me. And if you'll give him the chance, you'll see just how God is